As Democrats continue to move forward with impeachment, we are looking close at the impact it could have on that party.
Team Rising is here. Andrew Feldman is a Democratic strategist, and Inez Stepman is a senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. Two great friends of the show.
Indeed.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, so impeachment is going on. There's these hearings. There's witnesses, lawyers, constitutional scholars. Inez, I mean, broadly, what we've been tracking is any impact on the race actually happening? So from my perspective, from Crystal and I, what we have seen is that these things turn out to be general duds in terms of moving public opinion, and we already know what the end result is going to be after about a 6 to 8 week trial in which these Democratic senators are going to be forced to sit there for 6 days a week during the most critical phase of the campaign. So it's a negative impact from our perspective. What do you think? Yeah,
I agree. I think it's been a negative impact. I mean, this has been the high point, right? This is where they were supposed to lay out their case, Democrats, right? And what they've really succeeded in doing is just solidifying everybody who didn't like Donald Trump before into the impeachment camp. And what we're seeing in swing states, right, the states that Democrats are going to have to win back, is that people are not interested in this, that they don't want to see this focus on impeachment, and frankly, that I think there's this element of we're going to vote, we have already started the campaign. If you think he did something wrong, then use that on the campaign trail, and I think that would have been much more effective. I think a censure vote would have been much more effective. You might have been able to peel off some Republicans for that, but as you said, going for impeachment, now we're going to move to the Senate, where we're going to bring out all of the things that have not been talked about that look better for the president, where we're going to talk about Joe Biden and Hunter, and we're going to bring all the senators who are currently on the trail back home to watch that happen. So I think this has not gone well for Democrats.
Andrew, counterpoint?
Give us the look, I think it's been fine for Democrats. Several reasons. One, first, this is the congressional duty of Democrats in Congress and everyone in Congress. There are clear violations here that are impeachable by the president, and this is the moral obligation to do their job, what voters sent members of Congress to do, represent them, and go through this process. Absolutely. On the political front, well, let me tell you, many folks that are in tough races right now are raising a hell of a lot of money, right? Phil Arbaio running against Devin Nunes in California 22, right? Devin Nunes is not sitting pretty in that district. He only won that race by 5.5 points last time, and Phil just in the last 3 weeks has raised $450,000 off of the antics of Devin Nunes. And people understand that Devin Nunes is all up and in conspiracy theories here and not actually representing that district. At the same time, look at what happened in our elections in November. We won governor's races in Louisiana. Matt Bevin lost in Kentucky, running directly on impeachment. So this is not something that is bad for Democrats. This is something where we're upholding the moral obligation of people who sent them to Congress.
Bevin race is not a good example.
It was about teachers' pensions and health care, etc. It wasn't about impeachment.
No, because
he tied himself to Trump. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
but how do you, I mean, look, how's this going to go for Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Amy Klobuchar, and Cory Booker, and anyone else who's still in the race at that point? How's it going to go for them when they're tied up in D.C. for the entire month of January? And furthermore, I always hear this thing about accountability for the president. What kind of accountability is it going to be when the Senate acquits him and he runs around saying he's vindicated, nothing to see here? Like, what does that accomplish? We know how this ends.
It is clear. We have seen all that has come out of this investigation. The American people have been able to see the direct corruption of this president. Absolutely. Look, here's what we need to be doing. Here's what we need to ask.
Hold on. If you were to ask the American people their concerns about this president, like what he was doing with Ukrainian military aid and Joe Biden, so it was like the bottom of the list.
We have seen the numbers.
This crazy hill to die on.
We have seen the numbers that people agree that something wrong was done here.
Yes, but we've also seen the numbers. But we've also, and that's the thing, is that we've seen the numbers that they think, and I agree, what he did was wrong. But we've also seen, since this process started, independents in particular, independents in swing states in particular, move against the process because they don't want months and months of Ukrainian diplomats testifying before Congress.
I think there's an interesting background issue here, right? Crystal, earlier you spoke about the frustration with the background corruption of Washington.
Yeah.
I think the way that a lot of people, I also think that this was not a perfect phone call. Yeah. Right? But I think that the background on this, and the way people are perceiving it, is Washington itself has so many corrupt deals going on that this doesn't register.
I think that's right.
And
I think
don't.
that's right.
Yeah, I think that they're like, maybe that was wrong, but I'm sure that everybody else in Washington is doing 10 times more, and I just don't think that in the background opinion of the people on what is actually going on in this city, in Washington, this registers as particularly corrupt. And I think that's why the Democrats are not seeing the response that they would expect, given what they're, given the transcript and
especially given that you have Biden's corruption, like they're wrapped up in this whole thing. So we're like, well, their corruption is illegal and ours is like acceptable and nothing to see there.
This is about how you talk about this on the campaign trail, right? Impeachment, and I think the way we need to talk about impeachment is to connect it to the top voters, to the top issues that voters care about. We are not able to do anything on health care. We're not able to do anything on immigration or anything on the issues you care about because the president is tied into corrupt, impeachable offenses, and if you connect those two, we aren't able to move on these issues because
that's what elections are for, right?
Exactly.
That's not what impeachment is for, to talk about health care and to talk about. That's what an election is for.
I completely disagree. We have had people say that these offenses are worse than what Richard Nixon did. So now we're saying, oh well, we should just have not impeached Richard Nixon.
Well, who said that?
Who said that?
If you say that, if people say that, they're idiots.
John Dean, John Dean, a lawyer for in the Nixon White House has said that. Numerous people have said that in these investigations. You've had generals say that. So the reality is,
who are you pointing to? Former Nixon administration.
Hold on, but attorneys have said it.
Yeah, exactly. Democratic lawyers have said it.
Here's the problem with the argument that you're making, that voters are going to see this, because he made this phone call with Ukraine, we didn't get health care. Like, no one's making that connection. The connection they're making is because y'all are so fixated on this thing that has zero connection to my life. We're not talking about health care. We're not talking about climate change. We're not talking about anything.
I don't do that. Democrats, we're still winning.
No.
We're still winning. Absolutely.
We're still winning what?
Democrats are still winning in the races that have come up. Democrats are still winning in the polls. We're winning. When you look at the enthusiasm gap of the enthusiasm of Democrats right now, we are fired up. We are turned. So
Trump is raising boatloads
let Trump
of money
raise money.
Yeah,
let
he's
Trump
raising
raise money.
$150 million
But we are not seeing the same type of enthusiasm that they hoped they would off this impeachment issue.
Well,
so you can say that all you want, but what I'm saying is Democrats are more engaged than they've been with them before because of these issues, healthcare and other issues that we care about, but also at the same time because of the corruption of this president.
It's the same thing Hillary Clinton did in 2016 when she ran on his character rather than the issues that people cared about. So look, I'm not saying Democrats are going to lose because of this. I'm saying there's an opportunity cost. You could be talking about health care.
I think we are.
You could be talking about wages. You could be talking about unions. You could be talking about the fact that the manufacturing index continues to drop month after month, and that doesn't get any attention at all. We don't talk about that. Instead, people are so upset about his uncouth behavior and his corruption, which, is real. But as Inez said, people look at Washington and they see corruption everywhere. Exactly. So they don't see this as particularly worse than what Biden and Hunter were doing as one example. So I think, look, again, do I think they're definitely going to lose because of this? Not necessarily, but there's a massive opportunity cost, and keeping the progressives off the trail during January, I think it's a disaster.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
really
guys.
Appreciate it.
We'll have more Rising for you right after this.